Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode. My name is Mohammad Reza Fathi, and I'm a life coach. What we do in life echoes in eternity. In this episode, we are going to discuss survival through the lens of philosophers and different schools. Not the dramatic kind, not what we see in the movies, and not running from a building to another one. I mean the quiet kind, the kind where your alarm goes off and you already feel tired. The kind where the relationship ends and you still have to show up at work next day. The kind where nothing is catastrophic, but something just feels heavy. Yes, the kind of survival that we face every single day. Different philosophies have looked at survival in a very different way. And when you line them up next to each other, you realize something interesting. They're all trying to answer the same question. How do we stay standing when life doesn't go the way we expected? Let's walk through a few of them slowly and practically. For the beginning, we're going to start from Darwin, survival as adaptation. When people hear survival, they often think of Charles Darwin. Most people summarize his theory as survival of the fittest. But what he really meant wasn't strongest, it was adaptable. The species that survive isn't the biggest and the loudest. It's the one that adjusts when the environment changes. Now, bring that down to normal life. Imagine someone who's worked in the same company for 15 years. Suddenly, everything becomes digital. New systems, new tools, younger colleagues who grew up with technology. One option is this. He could say, they're ruining everything. This isn't how we used to do it. But another one is this. Okay, I guess I need to learn this. The second person isn't necessarily more talented, they're just more adaptable. Same thing in relationships. You get married thinking your parent will always be the same person. Then 5 years later, they change careers. Their interests shift. They grow up. If you're rigid, you panic. You might say to your spouse, "You're not the person I married." But if you're adaptable, you say, "Okay, we are changing. Let's figure this out." Survival in this sense is flexibility. It's not something very dramatic or motivational, it's just staying responsive instead of stiffing. A good modern book that talks about this idea in a very practical way is Mindset by Carol Dweck. She talks about fixed mindset versus growth mindset. And that, at its core, is really about adaptation. You're not stuck, you can adjust in every area of your life. But adaptation doesn't explain everything. Sometimes you adapt and it still hurts. That's when we talk about number two, survival as meaning, existentialism. Let's talk about Viktor Frankl. In Man's Search for Meaning, he wrote, "Those who have a why to live can bear almost any how." He wasn't writing from comfort. He survived concentration camps. And what he observed was this. People who had some sort of reason, even a small one, endured more. Now, bring that into everyday life. Think about someone working night shifts at a hospital, exhausted, underpaid, missing family events. If they see it as meaningless suffering, they burn out faster. But if they see it as I'm doing this for my kids or I'm building my experience to move forward, the same tired body carries a different emotional weight. Or imagine someone going through a divorce. If they think my life is over, it crushes them. But if they think, yes, this is painful, but maybe this is the start of a different chapter. You see, the pain didn't disappear, but it became survivable. Existential thinkers like Jean Paul would say, life doesn't hand you meaning. You decide your response. That can feel heavy, but it's also empowering. You don't control everything, but you do control the story you tell about yourself. And still, not everyone agrees that survival is about creating meaning. Some say it starts with accepting what reality as it is. That's when we reach number 3, survival as response, stoicism. Look at Marcus Aurelius. In Meditations, he keeps reminding himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. That's it. It's simple, but it's not easy. Let's use some small examples. You post something online, someone leaves a rude comment. You can replay it in your head for hours, argue, and feel attacked. Of course, it's a natural response. Or you could say, that's their opinion. I don't control that. I didn't say anything wrong. That was my opinion, and this is theirs. Another example, you get laid off from your company. You can spiral into I'm worthless and such thoughts. Or you could say, this is very hard, but it doesn't define my entire destiny. Stoicism doesn't say don't feel. It says separate what you can control from what you don't. Even something as small as traffic jam. You're stuck, you're late, you're starting to get irritated. The traffic doesn't change. It's just there. But your internal response can change. A very accessible modern book on this day is The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday. It translates these old ideas into daily practical reflections. But some philosophers go even deeper and question whether the self we are trying so hard to protect is even stable in the first place. That's when we reach number 4, survival as letting go, Buddhism. Buddha thought that suffering often comes from attachment. Attachment to outcomes, to identity, to how we think things should be. For example, you picture your life in a certain way, married by 30, stable career, house, routine, and other stuff. Then life unfolds differently. If you cling tightly to the original image, even deviation feels like failure. But if you see life as fluid, change becomes less shocking. Or something even more simple. You want someone to text you back immediately. They don't. Your attachment to that expectation is the thing that creates stress. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you loosen the grip. Another example. Parents often struggle when their children grow up and move out. So if their entire identity was that I'm needed at home, I'm a parent, the transition feels like emotional collapse. But if they allow their identity to evolve, the pain is still there, but it doesn't erase them. In this view, survival isn't holding on tighter, it's relaxing your grip on how things must be. Now, let's shift from philosophy to psychology, because sometimes survival happens automatically without us even realizing it. That's when we reach number 5, survival as psychological defense, Freud. Sigmund Freud believed that the mind protects itself. When something hurts too much, we create defenses. For example, you joke about something painful instead of talking about it. Or you say, I don't care when you actually do. You stay busy constantly so you don't have to think about it. Imagine someone who grew up feeling ignored. As an adult, they might chase achievement constantly. On the surface, it looks like ambition. Underneath, on the other hand, it might be survival. Or someone who avoids serious relationships. Maybe they were hurt once, but avoidance becomes protection. These patterns helped at some point, but over time, they can limit connection. Survival here means awareness, not blaming yourself, just noticing, oh, that's how I learned to cope. That awareness alone changes things. So, what does survival actually look like on an ordinary day? You might think, oh, I have a shelter, I have food, so I'm surviving. No. Sometimes it's this sending another resume after 3 rejections, going to therapy even when it feels uncomfortable, having a calm conversation instead of escalating a fight, choosing not to text someone angry at midnight. It's making dinner even when you feel low. It's paying the bills all the time. It's getting up after embarrassment. It's small, yes, but it's important. Survival isn't always loud, it's not heroic action. It's often steady. But here's a real question: is survival always enough? That's when we realize survival wasn't the goal. Sometimes people stay in harmful environments and call it strength. Enduring a toxic workplace for years, staying in a relationship that slowly erodes its self worth, telling yourself, I'm strong, I can handle it. But sometimes survival means leaving. Adaptation has limits, endurance has limits. Every single philosophy has blind spots. Too much stoicism can make you emotionally distant. Too much existentialism, responsibility can feel overwhelming. Too much detachment can turn into avoidance. So, wisdom is knowing which tool fits your moment right now. So, let's bring it together. If we step back, survival has layers: biological, staying alive; emotional, not collapsing under pressure; psychological, building defenses when needed; philosophical, creating meaning; and spiritual, accepting change. No single philosophy explains everything, but together they show us something simple. Survival isn't about being invincible, it's about adjusting, choosing your response, letting go when needed, and holding on when necessary, and sometimes simply making it through the day. And most of us are already doing it. It might not be perfect or it's not elegant. I understand you. But steadily. And honestly, sometimes steady is more than enough. What we do in life echoes in eternity.